Once legends in the West, you and your crew were betrayed. Now you are outlaws with bounties placed on your heads by those who have wronged you. This is the story of Green Hill and its fallen heroes. Jody, like many young dwarves of her time, was thrust into the midst of the chaotic and senseless conflict known as the Dwarven Wars. Amidst the horrors and bloodshed, she earned the moniker Red Scorpion for her ruthlessness on the battlefield and her striking red braid. When the war finally came to an end, Jody made a solemn vow never to wield a weapon again and fully dedicated herself to medicine. Determined to leave the path of violence behind, Jody settled in the tranquil town of Green Hill. There she established a humble doctor's office, using her newfound skills to heal both the townsfolk and the scars of her own past. Within the tranquility of Green Hill, Jody found serenity and even developed a quiet infatuation with the mustachioed, law-abiding sheriff. Unfortunately, everything changed when the malevolent Undertaker seized control of the town and seemingly eliminated the sheriff. Fueled by a thirst for justice and a desire to reclaim the serenity she had fought so hard to attain, Jody took up arms once more as the Red Scorpion. Ever since, she has led the resistance in a relentless battle against the Undertaker's oppressive rule, fighting not for glory, but for the restoration of peace and the salvation of her cherished town. Roger was a prominent figure in the underbelly of Green Hill. As the head of the city's black market, he navigated the shadows with finesse, capitalizing on the desperate needs and desires of its inhabitants. Cunning and greedy, Roger possessed an uncanny ability to procure valuable goods and information, making him a go-to contact for those seeking unusual wares. In his dealings, Roger often found himself at odds with Nigel, the former sheriff of Green Hill. Their conflicting interests sparked occasional tensions, but as long as Roger refrained from harming anyone, he managed to evade serious repercussions and thrived in the gray areas of the law. When the Undertaker seized control of the city, Roger initially saw little change in his operations. After all, as long as his business continued to flourish, who cared about the person in charge? However, his luck took a turn when word reached the Undertaker that Roger had been secretly supplying goods to the heroes who dared to oppose him. The Undertaker swiftly placed a generous bounty on Roger's head, seeing him as a threat to his dominance. Now on the run, Roger finds himself aligned with these very heroes he once profited from. In an unexpected turn of events, he has joined forces with them to bring down the Undertaker, hoping to reclaim his fruitful business and possibly improve his relationship with the former sheriff. Not much is known about the enigmatic and childlike spirit known as Olin. Many consider him to be a product of the hallucinations experienced by desperate travelers who claim to have been rescued by this entity. According to the accounts of these travelers, Olin roams the desert and appears only to aid those who are lost. Adding to his mystique, Olin is said to possess the fabled and long-lost weapon known as the mighty Mezcal staff. This unique characteristic has led to a widespread rumor among believers in Olin's existence that he is a reincarnation of Mezcal. One individual who firmly believes in Olin's existence is the Undertaker. Driven by his thirst for power, the Undertaker has been relentlessly searching for the staff in order to enhance his own might. To this end, he has placed a bounty on Olin's head and actively seeks to capture the elusive spirit. Surprisingly, Olin takes delight in this pursuit, approaching it with his trademark innocence. The chase has become a thrilling game of tag your it for him, providing unexpected enjoyment amidst the danger. Before coming to Green Hill, the Undertaker tried out his might on many small isolated communities, laying waste to them without leaving any trace. To the authorities, it always seemed to be natural disasters that shared no link between them. Indeed, there was no proof of any unusual activities, and no one was ever left to testify otherwise. Until someone survived to tell the tale, Tara. However, once she told her story of a mighty necromancer razing her little hamlet to the ground, no one believed it. It was indeed easier to believe that the story she told stemmed from the traumatizing disaster she had been through. For a while, she pleaded with the authorities, but was only ever met with disbelief, until she decided to take matters into her own hands. She vowed to use whatever means necessary to get revenge on the Undertaker, whatever the consequences. Around this time, while she was alone at night, she suddenly heard it, a guttural voice stemming from the dark.
"I can give you the power you need,"
it said. Blinded by her desire for revenge, she nodded and a contract seemingly appeared out of nowhere.
"Sign it,"
said the voice with authority. Tara held up the paper in hesitation.
"Sign,"
hurled the voice, and she did. Suddenly, the contract raised itself up in the air and changed into a very peculiar weapon, a pistol unlike she had ever seen.
"Feed me,"
said the voice from behind her with a renewed intensity, as if it now had corporeal form. When she turned around, she saw it, a A small but quite corpulent demon was there, right in front of her eyes.
Feed me.
With this new weapon, Tara is now searching for the Undertaker to exact her revenge, and with every minion she gets rid of, she gets stronger alongside her demon. When he was still human, Robert was the greatest genius the world had ever known. Above all, he desired to enhance and simplify the lives of as many people as possible on a daily basis. However, in a world where steam was the only available energy source, his boundless ingenuity required physical and financial resources far beyond his means. To conduct his research, he had to seek assistance from generous donors, leading him to encounter the enigmatic Undertaker, whose substantial wealth, albeit of questionable origin, was unmatched. Unfortunately, Robert soon discovered that the patron's resources did not come without a price. Instead of freely utilizing them, as he had hoped, he found himself compelled to create weapons and technologies that would grant the Undertaker an edge over his rivals. It became clear to Robert that he would never be able to fully dedicate himself to his grand humanitarian project while under the control of this malevolent backer. Yet escaping the Undertaker's grasp was no simple feat. In secret, Robert developed the Robert Project, a metallic body unaffected by time and basic needs, capable of hosting his consciousness at the cost of abandoning his fragile physical form. To him, this sacrifice seemed a small price to pay in comparison to what he could bring to the world once freed. After months of tireless work, the project was complete. Before transferring his consciousness into this new vessel, Robert destroyed all his research and as many weapons as he could. He staged his own death and escaped the clutches of his so-called benefactor. Now, as Robert, he is determined to fulfill the first stage of his grand humanitarian plan, liberating the valley from the menace that is the Undertaker. The golems are a type of construct that was created as a workforce for the mines populating Green Hill's surroundings. They are made of various enchanted materials and are animated through powerful magic. Golems are simple by design. They are not capable of complex thought and will simply do the tasks they are assigned to. They are, however, incredibly durable and resistant to damage. They are able to withstand extreme temperatures and harsh conditions, making them well suited for the use in desert regions around Green Hill. Given their nature, golems are easily dazed by great magical power. The Undertaker took that opportunity to take over their incredible workforce and use them as enforcers and guards. George is a clay golem that was created during the Dwarven Wars. After the conflict, however, the magic that bound him slowly began to fade, and as the magic dissipated, he became aware of his own existence. At first, George was confused and disoriented, not knowing how to process the influx of new information. But as he began to understand his surroundings, he realized that he had been left to rot in the desert. It was then that he was found by the Undertaker. Noticing George's naivety and simple mind, he saw an opportunity to exploit him for his own gain and convince the golem to join his ranks as a loyal servant. Despite his limited intelligence, he was a formidable ally to the Undertaker, using his immense strength and durability to carry out the necromancer's dirty work without question. Pepperino was once a simple cactus golem that got lost in the desert. As Pepperino wandered, he stumbled upon a field of chili peppers that had been abandoned by their growers. The golem, needing nutrients to keep himself activated and having no sense of taste or smell, was not affected by the pepper's heat, and began to eat them by the handful. As he ate, the peppers began to seep into his body, imbuing it with their spicy essence. Over time, Pepperino's body began to glow with a bright red heat, and his touch became unbearable to most living creatures. It was at this point that the Undertaker discovered the golem and decided to use those newfound powers to his advantage. The Undertaker quickly took control of Pepperino, using the golem's simple-mindedness to bend him to his will. Like all its kind, Pickhead was originally created as a labor golem. He was considered by many as the ultimate construct because of his incredible strength and resilience that only rivaled his incredible simple-mindedness. However, his simplicity made him highly susceptible to magical influence, and it was that trait that eventually led the Undertaker's hostile takeover of all the golems in the Valley of Green Hill. Indeed, when the Undertaker first arrived in the city, Pickhead was immediately drawn to his powerful magic, and it was this encounter that gave the Undertaker the idea to take control of all the other golems. To this day, Pickhead's mind remains entirely under the Undertaker's control, and he is often used as a tool to enforce the Undertaker's rule in Green Hill. In the vast desert expanse surrounding Green Hill, a notorious gang known as the Marauders roam. This gang operates under a peculiar hierarchy based on an unusual measure of skill. the ability to roll the longest distance without succumbing to dizziness. Strangely enough, it is often the least intelligent members who rise to the top of this hierarchy. Approaching the Armorados requires caution despite their perceived lack of intelligence. Their simplicity and straightforwardness make them remarkably resilient to the Undertaker's attempts to control them with his dark magic. However, through a twist of fate, the Undertaker managed to seize control of the gang by besting their leader in a decisive roll-off ritual. It was discovered, according to the species' scarce scripture, that rolling while curled up on a moving horse was deemed valid by their esteemed elder, granting the Undertaker an unexpected victory. Shiny Steve, the elite Armorator, stands out amongst his gang with his distinctive appearance. Having plated his shell with a lustrous chrome finish, he gleams in the desert sun. Shiny Steve is known for his extreme vanity and narcissistic tendencies. He takes great delight in admiring his own reflection in his polished shell, often preening and posing whenever he gets the chance. Despite his self-absorbed nature, Shiny Steve remains loyal to the Armorado's way of life. He adheres to their code and is always ready to serve whoever is in charge, be it Tom or the Undertaker. Within the ranks of the Armorados there stood a formidable figure known as Tom. Tom has dedicated his life to mastering the art of rolling, honing his skills to near perfection and developing a remarkable resistance to dizziness and head traumas. He had become a true expert in the craft, earning the respect of his gang members. However, Tom's reign as the leader of the Armorados came to an unexpected end when the Undertaker arrived and challenged him in a roll-off. Due to technicalities, the latter was indeed able to outmatch the rolling expert. Now under the Undertaker's order, Tom was given an important role within the underworld of Green Hill. He was tasked with keeping would-be meddlers out of the valley's borders and proudly harbors the nickname that his boss lovingly bestowed upon him, Simple Tom. Chaos is a very mysterious being. Little is known as how it came to be. The only thing we know for sure is that he appeared around the same time that the Undertaker came to Green Hill. It is stipulated that when he took over, the Undertaker resorted to such extreme atrocity against the previous criminal rulers of the underworld of Green Hill that he inadvertently created an amalgam of the remnants of their souls. This cluster of anger and regret eventually gave birth to the entity known as Chaos. Chaos only exists to bring down the Undertaker, and though the other heroes are hesitant to work alongside this entity, it seems useful in this endeavor, for now. In his relentless efforts to resurrect his beloved Cerberus, Rex, Brutus, and Cupcake, the Undertaker fell into abyssal darkness and started experiments on all of the strays he could find. Those horrible acts took their toll on the grim individual, and for each stray he desecrated, his soul strained thinner. By the time the Undertaker perfected his necromantic aptitude, hordes of ghostly hounds plagued the desert around Green Hill. The poor souls are now linked to the Undertaker, and their fidelity will remain for as long as he is alive. Diabo shares a similar origin to his fellow hounds, created through the Undertaker's dark necromantic experiments. However, there was a significant difference in his creation that set him apart from the rest. Indeed, overwhelmed by grief and consumed by his own wrath, the Undertaker infused a part of his own seething anger and malevolence into the hound, imbuing it with a terrifying power and relentless thirst for destruction. This act marked a turning point for the Undertaker, as it gave him the initial spark of inspiration to create even more formidable and sinister beings known as the Darkins. The origin of Darkins is shrouded in mystery. Some say they were created using dark magic, while others speculate that they are the spirits of deceased individuals manipulated by the Undertaker. The exact method of their creation is not widely known, but what is certain is that the Undertaker created them in an image of Olin, as a means to obtain the mighty Mezcal staff. But they were not powerful enough to wield the staff as their kind counterpart is. Failing to do the task they were assigned, the Undertaker only uses these failed experiments to enforce his rule. The Undertaker imbued Alface with his own cunning, making him a formidable opponent in battle. He is known for his intelligence and resourcefulness, using his powerful spells to outsmart his enemies. He is also notable for his bloodthirsty nature, making him a dangerous opponent to face. 3 individuals were given small pieces of the Undertaker's might. Red is one of them. He is the last Darkin to be made by the Undertaker and was imbued with the Necromancer's rage over his failed attempts to create a being able to wield the mighty Mezcal staff. He is known for his powerful spells and ability to manipulate the elements to his advantage. Old Jerry, the first of the Darkins, created by the Undertaker, is considered the mightiest of them all. The Undertaker imbued him with his own wisdom, making him a formidable strategist and tactician. He possesses a significant amount of the Undertaker's magical power and is known for his powerful spells and incredible might. He serves as one of the Undertaker's most trusted lieutenants and is considered the leader of the Darkins. Orcs are a race of brutish warlike creatures that are known for their strength and little intelligence. During the Dwarven Wars, they were often found alongside goblins, whom they used as cannon fodder. After the war, most of them started working in physical labor, such as mines, but they longed for conflicts. When the Undertaker offered to hire them as enforcers to maintain his rule, they happily joined him as battle was sure to ensue. Rambo is a warrior who gained fame during the Dwarven Wars for his exceptional fighting skills and bravery. Despite being a member of the brutish and warlike orc race, he possesses a level of intelligence and cunning that sets him apart from his kin. He was known to use guerrilla tactics and take out many opponents by himself, especially on his favorite terrain, the deep forests. Smith, having fought in the war, later became a bodyguard for hire. He may not enjoy violence, but it is the only thing he ever excelled at, and one that he is willing to use for those who can pay the most. As a skilled warrior, Smith is often sought after by those in need of protection. Despite his brutish appearance, Smith is known for his loyalty and discretion, making him a valuable asset to those who can afford his services. Wesson is a powerful orc who was once a green-skinned warrior experimented on during the wars. His mind is permanently stuck in a state of rage, and he is constantly in search of a worthy fight. After the conflicts, he was placed in quarantine for a long time as he was unable to ever regain a calm mind. He was eventually freed by the Undertaker. Wesson is fiercely loyal to the Undertaker as he is the only one who can provide him with endless battles to satisfy his thirst for violence. After an incident that left her orphaned, Sarah had to survive by herself for a long time, until she bonded with another lone child named Madeline. As she grew up, she discovered that she had a remarkable talent for archery, and decided to make use of it in order to provide for her and her newfound sister. Ever protective of Madeline, Sarah became a renowned bounty hunter, known for her precise aim and ability to bring down even the most elusive targets. By providing for her sister, Sarah hoped that Madeline would be able to have a normal life and not rely on violence to survive. Unfortunately, though, Madeline walked right into her sister's footsteps and proved to be quite the force of nature, and together, they made a name for themselves in the underworld of Greenhill. However, their lives took an unexpected turn when a mysterious figure known as the Undertaker seized control of Greenhill's underworld. Fearing for Madeline's safety and burdened with the weight of the threat, Sarah made a difficult decision to distance herself from her beloved sister, pushing her away in the hope that she would give up that way of life. Unfortunately, Madeline misunderstood Sarah's intentions and continued to work under the Undertaker out of spite. Seeing all the horrors the Undertaker was up to from the inside of his organization, Sarah realized that her sister would never know peace as long as this individual existed. Therefore, she defected from his organization. A bounty was put on her head and went from bounty hunting to being hunted. Now, all Sarah wants is to break her sister free and give her the life she deserves. Just like Sarah, Madeline was an orphan and had to fend for herself. In the small town of Greenhill, they formed a deep bond, akin to siblings, as they navigated the challenges of survival together. While Sarah, being the older of the two, eventually delved into the darker side of life, associating with the underground circles of Greenhill, Madeline followed in her sister's footsteps, though she lacked Sarah's prowess with weapons. To compensate for this, Madeline embraced a weapon that relied more on sheer projectile numbers than precision. Through her ingenuity, she became almost as feared as Sarah within the shadows of the town. This dynamic persisted for some time, and the orphans gained significant reputation. However, everything changed when a mysterious figure known as the Undertaker seized control of the town. Suddenly, Sarah pushed Madeline away and antagonized her. Unbeknownst to Madeline, her big sis was just trying her best to protect her from an evil beyond her. Regrettably, it broke her heart instead, and she decided to remain with a new lord of the underworld out of spite. The sisters never were able to patch things up after that, and from that day on, Madeline became Sarah's self-proclaimed rival. When Sarah eventually severed ties with the Undertaker's forces, Madeline assumed her role. However, with the shadow of her sister finally gone, something felt amiss. The missions assigned to her lacked the same zest. Weary of her current way of life, Madeline eventually followed in her sister's footsteps once more, and left the Undertaker's grasp, earning a bounty on her head in the process. Now she fights together with the other outlaws to take down the Undertaker, and even though her pride will not let her admit it, she is happy to once again fight alongside her big sister she begrudgingly admires. Growing up, Elias was an average kid at most. He never showed any specific traits or indications that he was suited for magic. However, Elias was born with an iron will and a drive to work towards his goals, and above all, he loved magic. For years, he focused on his studies, and although he had no talent to begin with, slowly, he overcame the deeds of any of his peers. Where he only inspired disdain at first, he gained the respect of the magical community. Eventually, he made his way to the top and even became the magic advisor of the state for a while. To many, he had done the impossible. To him, he had reached his dream and longed for a new goal. After a brilliant career as a magician, he decided to invest his talents in something else and became the head teacher of a famous magic school. Tutoring students brought him happiness he had never yet felt. During that time, Elias met a peculiar young man, a diamond in the rough, as you may say. The boy was simply incredible. Not only did he have more innate talent than any other Elias had seen, but the lad also had a drive to learn similar to his own, truly a potential beyond measure. For years, Elias taught the boy and watched him grow to become an unparalleled magic user. But something else had grown over time, an uneasiness that he felt when teaching the boy, an indescribable, sinister feeling. And one day, the boy disappeared. Distraught by the vanishing of his pupil, Elias looked all over and eventually found the boy's magic laboratory. There he found horrors beyond belief and the trace of a powerful necromancy spell. What horrors did Elias bring upon the world by teaching this youngling? He vowed on the spot to track the lad and bring him down if need be. After years of searching for his former student, Elias heard tales of a sinister presence that took over Green Hill, a necromancer so potent that no one dared face it, the Undertaker. There was no doubt in Elias's mind it was him. Determined to face the consequences of his actions, Elias set out to Green Hill, ready to face whatever consequences awaited him. For his entire life, Nigel has followed the path of justice. Often he would come to the aid of anyone who needed it. During his younger years, he was acclaimed as a hero of the people and would often receive rewards for his courage. Those rewards he would of course share with those in need. After years of adventures, Nigel settled in a small town called Green Hill and quickly became its loved sheriff. All seemed well, but soon whispers and rumors were heard in the valley, dark tales of a man who wanted to take power over the kingdom. Nigel could not let this slide and decided to use the wisdom he had gained over the years to investigate. He eventually confronted the man responsible for these schemes, the Undertaker. Unfortunately, Nigel was set up and left for dead in the desert. He was, however, saved from the brink of death by native elves who lived in a nearby hidden village. While he recovered there, he learned how to use the weapon he now wields, the sheriffkin. Back at full health, he now roams the desert in order to bring down the Undertaker. Before learning of the Undertaker's existence, Natoko was one of the young warriors in training of his village, and although he showed enormous potential, he nevertheless remained in the shadows of his brother Inoki, the prodigy. One day, while the two brothers were performing their usual guard duty around the village, they stumbled upon a dying stranger in the desert. Despite the village customs, Natoko insisted on offering aid to the unfortunate man and brought him back to the village. As the stranger recovered, he quickly formed a deep bond with his rescuers, and Inoki began sharing the village's fighting techniques with him, noticing the newcomer's exceptional skill in handling shurikens. Once the stranger, who introduced himself as Nigel, fully healed, he urged to meet with the village elders. Nigel shared grim tales about the looming threat posed by a mysterious figure known as the Undertaker, emphasizing the danger it could bring upon the village. However, the elders dismissed Nigel's pleas for assistance, leaving him no choice but to confront the enemy alone. Unbeknownst to the elders, the Undertaker was a vengeful being who did not easily forgive. Upon discovering Nigel's survival and newfound strength through the acquisition of exotic techniques, the tyrant condemned those who aided the sheriff on the spot. Fortunately for the despot, one of his underlings, a mysterious goblin named Sasudo, possessed similar techniques. A few days later, under the cover of a moonless night, the village fell under a sudden and brutal assault by the Undertaker and his minions. The attack was swift, overwhelming the village's defense in an instant. Natoko found himself trapped under debris, helplessly witnessing the destruction unfolding before him. Questioning how the assailants had discovered the hidden village, he soon realized the presence of the traitorous Sasudo, a former member exiled by the elders, and the sorrowful figure who could only be the Undertaker himself. Standing against them was Inoki, the village's last line of defense, wielding the sacred blade. Although Inoki fought valiantly, he was swiftly defeated, and the village was left in ruins as the sacred blade shattered. After the battle, Natoko emerged from the rubble. With the inert body of his brother in his arms, he swore revenge. Determined to avenge the village's destruction, he reforged the sacred blade and infused it with his unyielding rage and hatred. From that moment onward, Natoko lived solely through his sword, known as Dark Vengeance. Goblins are small, cowardly creatures who are easily controlled and manipulated by more powerful beings. As such, they were the first to fall under the influence of the Undertaker and are often used as his cannon fodder. They are known for their willingness to do the dirty work of their superiors in exchange for protection and power. They are feared and reviled by many in Green Hill due to their association with the Undertaker and his criminal empire, and are often seen as symbols of the corruption and darkness that plagues the town. Green Shadow was once a small and unassuming goblin who was constantly bullied and underestimated by his kin. But Green Shadow refused to let the opinion of others dictate his fate, and he began to teach himself how to fight in order to survive. Over time, Green Shadow became a skilled assassin, using his stealth and cunning to take out his targets without being detected. His reputation soon spread, and he was eventually recruited by the Undertaker to serve as a member of his criminal organization. Sasudo was once a member of the hidden village that Natoku comes from. He was a skilled warrior, but his ambition and thirst for power eventually led him down a dark path. He began to study forbidden techniques and dabbled in the dark arts, seeking to increase his own strength and influence. When the village elders discovered what he was doing, they exiled him from the village. Sasudo, bitter and resentful, looked everywhere for an opportunity for revenge. He found one with the Undertaker's organization, using his skills as a warrior and his knowledge of forbidden techniques to carry out the Undertaker's orders. He rose in ranks quickly and is now a most trusted subordinate. Kurg was once a proud member of the Goblin army, serving his people and fighting for their cause in the Dwarven Wars. As the war raged on, Kurg rose through the ranks, eventually earning the title of sergeant. He led his troops into battle time and time again, earning respect and admiration from his fellow goblins. However, as the war came to a close, Kurg found himself struggling to adapt to life after combat. He yearned for the rush of battle and the sense of purpose it gave him. It was then that he heard of a necromancer known as the Undertaker, who was said to be building an army. Kurg saw this as an opportunity to fill his hunger for combat and danger. The Bully Brawlers are a feared gang of mercenaries known for their unyielding loyalty to whoever has the most coin. Unaffected by moral considerations, they take any job as long as the money is right. When the Undertaker seized control of Green Hill, he exploited the town's suffering by increasing taxes, leaving the townsfolk penniless. With his coffers overflowing, the Undertaker hired the Bully Brawlers to enforce his oppressive rule. These relentless mercenaries, driven solely by profit, became the brutal enforcers ensuring the Undertaker's grip on power. Mike B, once a renowned boxer, enjoyed a series of victories that brought him fame and fortune. However, his success corrupted him, and he became obsessed with bets and the lure of money. His ruthlessness knew no bounds, and he would stop at nothing to claim victory, resorting to cheating tactics whenever possible. Mike B's infamous headbutting technique, executed skillfully without being caught, became his trademark. Although he claimed retirement from boxing, the truth was that Mike B had been banned from tournaments due to his unsportsmanlike behavior. Left with few options, he joined the ranks of Bully Brawlers, where his relentless nature and dirty fighting style made him an invaluable asset. Born as an orphan, Ruthless Ruth faced a life of hardship and struggle from an early age. With no one to rely on or offer support, she was forced to fend for herself in a world that showed her no mercy. To survive, Ruth took out any job she could, no matter how unsavory or dangerous, as long as there was money involved. She slowly became a force of nature, and her fierce abilities in dangerous situations soon got her the nickname of Ruthless Ruth. As Ruth fought tooth and nail to endure, she discovered an unexpected strength within her, a deep sense of family and loyalty. Having experienced firsthand the pain of abandonment, she made it her mission to create a sense of belonging for others who had been similarly cast aside. One by one, she took in her kin, fellow orphans and misfits, offering them a home, protection, and a chance at a better life. This unconventional family grew into the fearsome mercenary gang known as the Bully Brawlers. Ever since the Undertaker took over Green Hill, she and her mercenaries have been under his service. He might have unsavory motives, but the pay is good and her family thrives. Ruth may be known to the world as Ruthless Ruth, but to her gang members, she is only ever referred to as Big Ma Ruth.
Ernesto was a simple man. He never wished for wealth or power, nor did he wish for the thrill of adventure. All he ever wanted was to live a quiet life in the quiet little town he was born in, Green Hill. From his father, he inherited the Emerald Goblet, the town's modest inn. This place was nothing special, and Ernesto was neither a great cook nor a great host. But there was only one inn in the town, so clients would come in regularly, and Ernesto could make ends meet without trouble. For years, it seems that his ideal would never falter, and that, outside of some hot-headed troublemakers every now and then, he could live out a peaceful life without any trouble. However, the situation changed for the worst when the Undertaker took over Green Hill. If the status quo had remained, Ernesto would have happily stayed put and changed nothing of his day-to-day life. However, with the Undertaker came his minions, and they scared the inn empty and refused to pay for their bill, threatening violence instead. In these conditions, it was clear that Ernesto could never get the quiet life he longs for. Determined to get it back, he enlisted under Jody's rebellion against the Undertaker and became its official cook and attendant. The Mole Men are a species known for their near blindness and exceptional digging abilities. Thriving in underground environments, they rely on their keen sense of touch to navigate their surroundings with precision. Skilled tunnelers and experts in underground navigation, they are resourceful and adaptable. Originally confined to menial labor in mines, the invention of dynamite provided them with new career opportunities as bounty hunters and criminals. Long overlooked and marginalized by the rest of Green Hill, the Mole Men were easily swayed by the Undertaker's offer of social standing and eagerly joined his ranks. Operating as a close-knit community, they leveraged their collective strengths to achieve their goals. Darth Mole, a sinister figure among the Mole Men, has forsaken the sense of community that defines his kind, pledging himself entirely to his dark master, the Undertaker. Consumed by an insatiable thirst for power and devoid of moral compass, Darth Mole becomes an unwavering instrument of the Undertaker's malevolence. With unparalleled expertise in underground navigation and stealth, he traverses the subterranean world with an eerie grace, often materializing unexpectedly. Exploiting his unique skill set, the Undertaker harnesses his minion as an unseen hitman, striking from the shadows with deadly precision. Like all his kind, Denzel is almost blind. This peculiarity prevented the Mole Men from working as bounty hunters, sheriffs, or hitmen for the longest time. However, with the advent of dynamite, they swiftly established their dominance in these fields. When it comes to explosives, Denzel stands out as a true master. He has pioneered numerous techniques, such as the nunchuck boom, and is renowned for his famous catchphrase, "Bang," as long as it works. Gradually, Denzel built a reputation for himself, frequently eluding the former sheriff of Green Hill, Nigel. Eventually, he found employment with the Undertaker and swiftly climbed the ranks within the organization. He ultimately became the Undertaker's right-hand man, playing a pivotal role in the ambush against his old nemesis, Nigel. Since then, leveraging his boss's extensive network, Denzel has been appointed as the sheriff of Green Hill, ruling over the small town through a reign of fear. The Batmen are a twisted creation of the Undertaker's dark magic. They are human-like creatures that have been infused with the characteristics of bats, giving them enhanced senses, agility, and speed. The Undertaker created them as part of his twisted experiments, using his control over the dark arts to warp and manipulate the bodies of those he deemed expendable. They are known for their ferocity in battle and the link that they share through magic, which enhances their speed whenever one of their own falls in combat. Gremlin is unique among the Batmen, originally created in a failed experiment by the Undertaker. Though initially intended to be discarded as nothing but another failed attempt, Gremlin's exceptional abilities caught the attention of the Undertaker, and he was made one of his elite enforcers. Indeed, his abilities far surpass those of his kin. Gremlin possesses incredible stealth and a high level of intelligence, making him an excellent infiltrator. He is known for his ability to sabotage and disrupt enemy operations. Despite his small size, Gremlin packs a mean punch with his sharp claws and teeth. Chuycabra is a powerful and terrifying Batman. He possesses superhuman strength and speed, and is driven by an unending bloodlust. This was the result of an Undertaker's experiment gone wrong, where he inadvertently injected too little blood into the creature during its creation, leading to its insatiable thirst for it. Chuycabra's thirst is a never-ending cycle as he feeds on his victims to quench it, yet never able to fully do so. Scarbat is a lesser demon hailing from the realm of chaos, summoned by accident by the Undertaker during his research into the dark arts. Through the summoning rituals, Scarbat is bound to the Undertaker's will and serves as the fiercest and most brutal enforcer in his army. Possessing demon strength and endurance, Scarbat far surpasses his fellow wrongdoers and is able to shrug off even the most devastating wounds. Its berserk rage in battle is only matched by the bond it shares with the Undertaker, which enhances its power even more. Brainsuckers are parasitic creatures that infect and take over the bodies of their hosts. They feed on the host's magic energy, growing stronger and more powerful over time. As they consume more magic, they take on a more alien-like appearance, developing tentacles and other strange features. They are naturally drawn to powerful sources of magic and therefore naturally came under the rule of the Undertaker. At his service, they have become a formidable force, using their stolen magic to further his goals. Their origins are unknown, but it is speculated that they may have come from another realm or dimension. They are feared by many for their ability to take over the bodies of their victims and use them as puppets to carry out their nefarious deeds. Weird was once a renowned surgeon who lost the use of his hands in a tragic chariot accident. In his quest to heal his wounds and regain his status, he delved into the study of magic and brain suckers. Through his extensive experimentation, he was able to maintain his own consciousness while being taken over by the parasite. Using his now improved magical abilities, he was able to recover the use of his hands, but it came at a price. Weird inadvertently inherited the parasite's disposition to follow powerful magic users, and ultimately came under the rule of the Undertaker. There are very few animals that develop magic powers, but it is not unheard of. Sash was one of the few. As a rattlesnake with magical abilities, she was destined for great things within her kind. She would lead them and take over the crawling world. That is, if she hadn't been taken over by a brain sucker as soon as she discovered her abilities. The relatively untainted nature of animals makes them perfect vessels for the magical parasite, and under its influence, Sash became a power to be reckoned with. Drawn to powerful magic beings like the rest of the brain sucker, she was eventually subdued by the Undertaker's might. Katish is a powerful and ancient being who once held dominance among the brain suckers as he was the mightiest magical user. However, when the Undertaker emerged on the scene, Katish, like the rest of his kind, was drawn to the Undertaker's immense power and became his subordinate. Katish does not bear any ill will towards the Undertaker, as this is the natural way of brain suckers, to be drawn to and follow powerful magic beings. The Undertaker was once a powerful and respected necromancer, renowned for his skill in harnessing the dark arts. But as he delved deeper into the forbidden corners of magic, he became consumed by an all-consuming desire for power. He began to see the value of life as nothing more than a means to an end, and he began to use his magic to control the spirits of those around him. One of the first victims of the Undertaker's corruption was his beloved dog, whom he brought back to life using dark magic after the animal grew old and died. This act of desperation only served to further fuel the Undertaker's descent into darkness, and he soon found himself using his magic to control the spirits of his underlings, binding them to his will and bending them to his every whim. As his power grew, so did his ambition, and the Undertaker began to set his sights on becoming the boss of the underworld in Green Hill. He knew that to achieve this goal, he would have to eliminate any rivals standing in his way, and so he began to plot and scheme to take out anyone who stood in his path. Over the years, the Undertaker worked tirelessly to build up his power base in Green Hill's criminal underworld, using his dark magic and cunning to attract and recruit the most dangerous and ruthless criminals in the land. With the help of his controlled spirits, he was able to secure his position as the undisputed boss of the underworld in Green Hill. Now, the Undertaker rules over the criminal empire with an iron fist, using his right-hand man, Crazy Denzel, and his controlled spirits to enforce his will. Despite his fearsome reputation, the Undertaker is constantly haunted by the memory of his once loyal dog, whose undead form now serves as a constant reminder of the terrible price he has paid for his ambition. Thank you all for watching, and as always, don't worry about those bumps in the night.